get as many bills as we can, but I want to start with any patron who has members of the public here to speak. And that would be HB 161, first on our docket, Delegate Siebold. Bold.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. First, Madam Chair, I have a substitute.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, there's a substitute that's been posted online. It's being distributed to you now. What the substitute does is adds 2 drug crimes that are specific to prisoners, updates catch line, and throughout the bill, it references administrative procedures and penalties. With some of the restructuring, it removed the subsection C2 that was in the bill. So as a restructuring matter, anything that was originally C1 is now just in subsection C. And I'll let the patron explain more of these changes.
Move the substitute.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the substitute for House Bill 161. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, every 11 minutes in the United States, someone dies of a drug overdose. And it doesn't have to be this way. We have Narcan and other solutions to treat overdoses, and if caught in time, it doesn't even have to be fatal. But someone experiencing an overdose needs help. They can't always report it themselves. That's why we should do everything we can to encourage people to help someone in the midst of an overdose and not punish them for doing so. Luckily, for those who are not incarcerated, they have immunity from arrest if they or someone they know is experiencing an overdose. Unfortunately, under current Virginia law, this is not the case for those who are incarcerated. If you're experiencing an overdose in prison or jail and it's reported to staff, you can be re-prosecuted for an additional crime, which could lead to another additional 4 years, depending on some circumstances. In addition to being re-arrested, you could face strict internal disciplinary action, solitary confinement, loss of recreation, visitation, telephone privileges removed. These are amongst the penalties. This bill will simply extend those reporting protections to people incarcerated in Virginia and eliminate the barriers to reporting an overdose. Madam Chair, drugs have infiltrated our prisons and jails, mostly coming in through staff. Last summer, we saw a rash of incarcerated overdose deaths, including 3 deaths alone over just 2 days at Greensville Correctional Center. As a Virginia sheriff shared with me, I believe in this bill because I would rather save a life and know about somebody overdosing. If they don't tell us there's fentanyl in a cell, it's already in the cell and it got past us. If an inmate cellmate overdoses, we shouldn't discourage him or her from reporting it for fear of prosecution. Virginia prisons and jails need an urgent intervention to stop these overdoses, and they need it right now. I hope you consider this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Siebold. Are there questions of the patron? And again, use your request to speak button, please. I see first Delegate Hernandez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. More of a question for council, really, just if they could explain once more how this is slightly narrower than the original version, since we're just seeing the printed out version of the substitute. I just want to make sure we're fully understanding the changes.
Madam Chair, Delegate Hernandez, is actually, I wouldn't call it narrower. I think it's probably a little bit more expansive to protect. So the changes in this from the original bill are that there are 2 code sections, which are 53.1, 203.5, and 203.6, that deal with penalties for prisoners who possess chemical compounds, controlled substances, marijuana or Suboxone. Those were not in the original bill, and since those are criminal charges that prisoners themselves could face, those were added in the subsection, the later subsection where the evidence was taken out. That was done so that evidence of who is dealing the drugs could still be maintained by the Department of Corrections or the jail, but it's not, can't be used again to prosecute the overdose E, I guess is the best way to put it.
Is there a follow-up? Delegate Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question for the patron.
Please proceed.
Delegate Siebold, I'm supportive of this bill, but I want to make sure that there's no ability to like misuse it, right? So like possibly like inducing an overdose. I know that sounds crazy, but you know, in some of these situations, they've got sort of pod folks who are like looking out for everybody, and that's one of the issues is they don't report because they don't want anybody to know. And so I am a little bit worried about the bad actors, and it's an open question to others in this room too, is are there implications that we need to watch for that says like, if this person overdoses, then I can't get in trouble, so I'm going to do something bad. Does that make sense?
Yes. We actually have DOC, Madam Chair, we actually have DOC in the room, and I'm sure that that's something that they could explain a bit better than I can.
It would be appropriate for Department of Corrections to come forward to answer the question.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, committee members. My name is Marcus Elam, Operations Administrator for the Department of Corrections. And to the question that was posed, that's one of the concerns that we had that we worked out with Delegate Seabold to make sure that the evidence, particularly that is found that in relation to the person who's overdosed, we would still be able to use that to investigate and address those folks who are dealing drugs. So that's one of the changes that we felt as a department was a positive change that would allow us to continue to do that for that purpose.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other questions of the patron? If not, anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the bill, if you would all come up at the same time so that we know how the line is forming. And again, please be expressive but brief.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee. I'll just say I support because I know it's a long line behind me, but as someone who does reentry services and work with individuals who are incarcerated, there is no harm in having Narcan at all. And a lot of people are not sentenced to die, so we support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Sean Winetta speaking on behalf of the ACLU of Virginia, and we do support the bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Chuck Mayer representing Julian Legal, a civil and human rights firm, and we support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I am Sincere Allah, former peer recovery peer support specialist inside the Department of Corrections. I support this bill.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, as mentioned previously, that's one example why the department does not oppose this bill. The other reason I want to thank Delegate Seabold for working with us for these particular changes, because it does allow us to, one, continue to address the addiction issues that our folks have, as well as work hard to try to keep those folks who are trying to bring the drugs into the prison and distribute them, allows us to continue to address that issue as well. So for those reasons, we don't oppose the bill.
Thank you.
Michael Sizemore, Advocacy Manager at SARA. We support the bill.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in opposition to the bill? Please come to the microphone. Seeing no one, I don't have my list. Is anyone online wishing to speak to the bill? Are there any further questions from the panel? Delegate Seabold, you have the last word.
I'm good. I know you have a busy docket, so thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. A motion is in order.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move to report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that HB 160, as a substitute.
Sorry.
And a letter, I'm sorry, the letter says to appropriation. So the proper motion is a motion to move to support, to report the substitute and refer it to appropriations. Please open the roll. All those members cast your vote. Please close the roll. HB 161 reports and is referred with substitute to appropriations by a vote of 6-1. Thank you very much, Delegate.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee.
Okay. Next on the agenda